Oh my goodness. I'm so upset right now because the regular season has come to a close. But wait, Super Wild Card Weekend right around the corner. We have a lot to get to on episode 199 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. A look at week 18, the closing of the NFL regular season, and a look at the wild card matchups. And to wrap things up with the Kirby on Sports pick'em, you don't want to miss it. Coming up next. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into episode 199 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kirby. As always, a huge thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, changing really soon, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett Pest and Termite Services, Shenandoah Music, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, and the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy. Use promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order every single time. Not wasting any more time. I'm sure Carlos is happy but sad, but also happy because the Cowboys beat the Commanders, sad because the regular season is over, but happy again because wildcard weekend is almost here. Carlos, the Swiss Army knife Martinez.
It's good to be division champs, baby. It's good for the title to be back where it rightfully belongs and out of those disgusting Philadelphia hands. Welcome to another year of the reign of the Dallas Cowboys as NFC East champions. And what better way to do it against your, awful team. It was a weird game.
They're on the come up. They're on the come up.
Oh, are they? I mean, I guess you can't really go anywhere else. You're at rock bottom. So, I mean, you can only go up from here, so I just hope you guys keep Sam Howell as quarterback because he is terrible. And I think you guys really believed after last year's Week 18 game that he was the franchise guy.
Me? I really thought
yes,
that?
you. No, you and every delusional Washington fan was like, yes,
wow.
you. Let's
I don't believe I said that.
Let's not sit here and act like Kirby like you weren't sitting there in the middle of this season when he was leading in passing yards, trying to make the case that he was elite. And then everybody's like, oh, we found our guy. No matter what, we found our guy. You guys didn't find anything. Sam Howell is awful. And the fact that you guys might draft the guy who took over for him at North Carolina is just honestly poetic. Because guess what? That's going to be another 3 years of mediocrity right there. Let's go, Dallas Cowboys for life.
That wasn't the best, Carlos. I'll tell you why. You didn't pop out the streamers, the multicolored lights like you did before. I was not there for. Oh, he did. He did.
You don't happen to have that clip ready to go, do you?
No. Well, let's take a look.
Yes.
Stand by.
Yes. I was hoping you had this.
I have it. I just wasn't sure if you wanted me to play it.
Oh, you see, I wanted to talk to you about it during pre-show, but I totally forgot.
Well, let's take a look. Ladies and gentlemen, here on the Kirby on Sports podcast, we have a throwback. I think it's ready to go. We're going to take a look and see, and hopefully we're going to get it.
We should have had this prepared to go, but
I
was hoping you were going to play this. I was hoping you were going to play this.
Let's see.
Yep. We're having some difficulties here. Ooh, this is brutal.
It was a big weekend for you, man. Take it away.
Listen, I know people are thinking that I'm going to come in here, brag and be grandiose and have a huge celebration, but I want to take a moment and be a little humble here. You know, it's been a long season and we beat the brakes off of Washington. So out of respect, I just like to say to Washington, screw you guys. The champs are here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Champs, baby. Champions. Yes. Let the streamers fly. Yeah. Let's go. And give me the belt. Give me the belt.
Oh.
Let's go. The champs are here. I told y'all the world is right. Washington is dead. Their reign is over. The real champions have retaken the throne. I have streamers all over me. Oh, good Lord, have mercy.
Crank up that music, bro. Come on.
Oh, that's about it. That's all I got in me.
Well, there we go. That was that was a blast from the past. Oh my gosh.
Let the celebration begin, dude. Let it begin, because not only are the Dallas Cowboys NFC East champions, not only did they steal it from the jaws of defeat, at one point only had a 3% chance of winning the NFC East from those god-awful Philadelphia Eagles. Bunch of scumbags over there. They secured the number 2 seed, and there is no excuse why this team should not make it to the NFC Championship game, knowing that we are guaranteed at least 2 home games. Obviously, assuming we beat the Packers, which we should beat the Packers. Come on, this is not Aaron Rodgers we're talking about here. This is Jordan Love, who is playing decent, but is not Aaron Rodgers. Look, that was a great trip down memory lane. It's hilarious that we won the division beating Washington that year. Obviously, that was back when I only had one belt and I only had the black belt, but now I'm sporting the blue one, in honor of, the Dallas Cowboys blue. But yeah, look, I mean, you know what the crazy thing is, Kirby? This streamer thing, I've had this since that day. So it's only fitting. It's only fitting.
See, you run a podcast for so long and you just have all these memories that you can just in the archives, and you just pull them back up. And I'm like, well, I think we're going to have to pull this back up.
We had to.
We did.
It's just even funnier knowing that that it's just so fitting for this moment as well, because we beat the brakes off of Washington that year. We beat the brakes off of Washington this year. So it was great. It was good. It was good going down memory lane. Obviously, my whole setup was completely different back then than what it is now. So,
well,
and I had more hair.
I mean, obviously, Dallas looked good.
Weird beginning. We were talking about it.
Apologize to your kicker for getting a kick blocked and missed. But
yeah, look, I mean, he wasn't going to stay perfect forever, but at least this isn't Brett Maher where he just got the yips. It was a blocked, field goal in which they literally just let the guy through. And then the other one was just a miss, and it just happens. Not every kicker can go 100%, and it sucks, because Brendan Aubrey has been incredible this season. So luckily he made his third try. He made it, and he made it pretty clean and easily. So hopefully we're not going through a Brett Maher situation where he got, like I said, he got the yips last season.
So anyways, like last year, this game started off pretty weird though. And it just looked like Washington was pulling out every single bag of tricks in their playbook that worked for maybe one or
quarter?
two drives, and then
It worked
Dallas
for a
was,
quarter. That's it.
and like Dallas was like, okay, that's enough. We just gotta push our
Clamp them
pedal
down
to the
and
metal.
yeah, no, I mean, look, we knew that was going to happen. This is your guys' last game of the season. Might as well empty out the clip. It worked for, those couple drives. I mean, you guys were going in with a whatever. It was like 10-7 going into the second quarter, something like that. So, then there was that Dak Prescott interception, which wasn't his fault. It was just batted at the line, and it landed perfectly at the I can't remember which player made the play on that one, made the interception. It was
I
the
think it was
linebacker.
Quan Martin, and then he went out with an injury.
Yeah. Obviously Dallas had some issues coming into the game with the Zach Martin situation, where literally last second he was out of the game because of an illness. And we had to put in Brock Hoffman in, and Brock Hoffman did pretty good. We had the scare with the Stephon Gilmore injury, which thank God it's nothing serious. It looks like he'll be okay to go next week. It was just a dislocated shoulder, and they were able to pop it back in, so there's no issues there. Look, I mean, you guys had nothing really to play for, and honestly, it was in the best interest of your team to lose that game, because had you guys won, you guys would have gotten the third pick instead of the second pick. And obviously, if you guys are trying to get a franchise guy, it's best to be in that second pick, because you guys might be able to trade for that first pick, depending on what the Chicago Bears want to do, and may possibly get Caleb Williams. So who knows?
Well, but you know my stance on that, and I will keep preaching.
But your stance doesn't make any sense, because the theory that you guys have been working on of, not drafting a guy in the first round has not worked out.
Invest in the offensive line.
Okay, but you need a guy first too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
I mean, you guys do need to invest in the offensive line.
Yeah, oh my gosh, something just fell in my house. I'm not sure if you heard that, but that scared the crap out of me. But continuing, yes, getting the franchise guy for Washington. It's a topic of conversation.
I mean, but this is the opportunity to get that guy, because this is a very strong draft class, and quarterbacks wise. But in terms of, I mean, it's not it's not the most strongest one, but this is a pretty solid one, in which you guys are either going to get Drake May, who is bigger and I'm guessing a lot better than Sam Howell is, despite the fact that they went to the same college. Or you guys could potentially make the move up and get Caleb Williams, who is, who's been getting a lot of flack lately. I don't understand why, because all in all, his talent level is unprecedented. He's really good, and he's Patrick Mahomes light. He's obviously, nobody is Patrick Mahomes, but he does very similar things to him in terms of creativity and the way he can throw the ball. And say you guys do keep Eric Bieniemy, that would be a perfect matchup right there.
Yes, get the franchise guy, but also look at your line.
They need to invest in their own line. I agree with that.
Because I'm looking at mock drafts, they're like, get a quarterback, a wide receiver.
No wide receivers.
It's like, why do we need a wide receiver in these mock drafts?
But
why do the Commanders need a wide receiver
you guys have
in these
Terry
mock drafts?
You guys have Terry McLaurin, and you have Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I mean,
these are solid guys.
And Terry just went over 1,000 yards for the 4th straight season.
Exactly. So to me, a wide receiver makes no sense. Like, this team has weapons. Like, obviously, I would also invest in running back, but that's something you can get later on in the draft, not a first-round draft pick.
Easily, yeah.
But again, the key thing is you need to fix that offensive line, because it's very bad. Obviously, the secondary needs a lot of attention too for this team. And hopefully they use some of that draft capital that they got, that maybe that second round pick that they got out of San Francisco for Chase Young. Hopefully they, use that to upgrade one of these positions.
Yep. And also secondary, just looking at secondary, I'm hoping they address that issue as well. But just going on a little bit of a tangent here, Josh Harris and company wasted no time after that last game. The next day, Ron Rivera's gone. They hire Bob Myers and former Vikings executive Spielman, I forget his first name, but to lead in the search for a GM and coaching candidate. People are saying this might be one of the best jobs to have, granted how much cap space the Washington Commanders have this year.
I don't know if it's one of the best jobs, just considering that
Luxurious or something like
I don't
that.
even know if it's luxurious. I mean, again, there's so much that Washington needs to catch up on in terms of facilities, stadium, getting the fan base back involved, team building. Like, sure, they might have the cap space and they might have some draft capital, but this isn't like a job that's going to this isn't the Chargers job where you have Justin Herbert waiting for you right there, right? One of the best quarterbacks talent-wise in the league, right? And obviously he doesn't have the accomplishments of some other guys, but like talent-wise, we can all agree Justin Herbert is one of the top talents in the league. But Washington doesn't have that. They have. There's a lot that needs to be figured out. This is not a short-term fix. Like, this is going to be a long-term project. Obviously, there's talks that you guys want to talk to Dan Quinn. I don't think Dan Quinn goes to you guys. I wouldn't expect Dan Quinn to take the Washington job. It's just not. I don't think it's that appealing.
Watch
to
him stay in Dallas again.
He could possibly. I mean, honestly, a lot of these head coaching vacancies are not the best. I mean, obviously he's not going back to Atlanta, so that's out the window. He's not going to take Tennessee. Maybe, I mean, the Chargers seem like they want to either Belichick or Harbaugh. The same with the Raiders. The Raiders want Harbaugh, or they might stick with Antonio Pierce. Who knows? There's just the jobs that are open and available right now just don't seem like they would interest Dan Quinn more than staying with Dallas and continuing to coach this defense. Now, that obviously all depends too on if they win the Super Bowl, which obviously is a long shot, but it's a long shot for everybody pretty much. You have to get kind of lucky here. But given Dallas's history too, it's kind of a long shot right now, but he has said before that like he does not want anybody else really coaching this group of guys because these are his guys. So I don't really know, but back to your team, I don't really know where you guys go for a head coach. I don't know who's the top candidate. There's obviously been talks of Bill Belichick coming. That doesn't make sense.
No, that's hot air from Mike Florio.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
John Keim from ESPN shoots that report down. I think Mike Florio is just taking off with the bit because it's getting a lot of popularity.
Well, I mean,
Mike Flores to Lamar Jackson.
He's not the. I mean, it's not like you're the only team that's been linked to Bill Belichick either. I mean, like there's talk of the Cowboys being interested in him. Should we not make the NFC Championship game? And I'm like, depending, like if we flame out in this round, then yeah, we can have the conversation of firing Mike McCarthy. But if we get to the NFC Championship game and we lose to the 49ers, like there should be no discussion on whether we bring Mike McCarthy back because it's been 3 years of 12-5 seasons. Two of those years we won the division. And every single year we got further and further into the playoffs. And yeah, sure, we got bounced by the 49ers all 3 years, but at least we were in the NFC. And like, that's the thing for me. And that's the thing for a lot of Cowboys fans is we expect at least the NFC Championship game. We should not lose in the divisional round. We should not lose in this wild card round to the Packers. But should we say, because it's always possible. You never know with Dallas. If they do lose, I mean, I think we would definitely have to have that conversation of moving on from Mike McCarthy because while we're having regular season success, it's not translating in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see. So, I mean, mainly this conversation, obviously Dallas beat Washington, but just getting into the after effects of it. Obviously, Dallas is in the playoffs, but more for Washington. And with everything. And that sort of segues us into the rest of Black Monday as well. Did you notice anything? We'll probably touch on Vrabel, but
He
besides,
wasn't really Black Monday. He was more.
no, but just after the season for some teams who didn't make the playoffs, did anything really spark your interest about a move that was made besides Vrabel?
I'm trying to think who was really fired on Black Monday. It was kind of a quiet Black Monday, honestly.
12-1 Arthur Smith.
Yeah, but I expected that one just because Arthur Smith just was not a good head coach. And me and you and Dan have discussed it plenty of times on this podcast that he's an idiot. He's a stooge. Like, there's no reason why, he's also super rich. Like, he has no reason to really be here. And him in Atlanta did not work out very well. I don't know. I don't really. There was really no move on Black Monday that I didn't see coming. It was the move that was made today that really surprised me.
Crazy.
Yeah, the Vrabel move makes absolutely no sense unless it's just that the Tennessee Titans are just looking for a fresh start, hard reset. They're going to move on from all their guys. That means they're probably not bringing Derrick Henry back. They're probably going to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. They probably just want to start fresh, new, and go into that new stadium with a different team, a different vision of what this is, where this is going. And I'm pretty sure Vrabel, Vrabel's he's a good coach. He's not. I never thought that Vrabel was the issue there. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens, whether the New England job does open up or not, if Belichick decides to leave, if they decide to part ways or not, which I'm kind of leaning towards I don't think they will. But I'm pretty sure he's the heir apparent should that job become available.
Yep. I think you put some really good points there. I don't understand it, but with the announcement of him getting fired, that opens up doors for numerous people because obviously he's a really good coach. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. And I wouldn't be surprised if New England parts ways with Belichick, that he might end up there. But I know you said that that might not be a good option because Belichick might be staying, but it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, Vrabel's going to be coaching again next year. I have no doubts about that. It's just the question of where and like which job is enticing to him, because if say the New England job doesn't open up, like where is he really going to go? I mean, like I said, there's options. Obviously, any team would take him, but I don't know.
It's going to be interesting, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to dive into some of these Week 18 games. And then later on, the Kirby on Sports PickEm. You don't want to miss it. Much more to come on episode 199 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com.
Hey, Kirby on Sports Podcast listeners, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here. It may seem scary or daunting at first to think about buying or selling a home. Well, look no further. Give me a call, 540-247-1527. There's nothing more than I love to do than help my friends make those transactions fun, interesting, and at the end of the day, productive. Look me up online, iconsales.com, and even better, find me on my podcast, Iconic Talk, with my co-host Megan Eanes on any podcast platform. We will share all the local news about real estate markets and our local community. It's educational. Look us up. We'd love to help you. iconcells.com, 540-247-1527.
Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. All right, welcome back. The Swiss Army Knife, Carlos Martinez. I am Josh Kirby. Dan Dembski, unfortunately, cannot be with us today, but now we're doing things a little bit differently. Obviously, some of these games didn't matter. People were resting starters, but we're just going to briefly touch on some of the matchups that we had our eye on in week 18 and just taking a look at the wild card weekend schedule.
I mean, we could talk about wild card weekend while we do the pick'ems.
Yeah. That as well.
Yeah.
See, I on a tangent there, and we can just do that. But I thought it was absolutely hilarious, though, Carlos. This game did not matter, but Arthur Smith flipping out after the Saints going touchdown. I was like, oh my gosh. And then Arthur Smith just gets fired. I'm like, what a way to end it right there.
Yeah, obviously the game ended up not mattering, but it mattered at the time because it wasn't clear yet on, whether either of those teams were out or not yet. But yeah, I mean, obviously then it comes out that Jameis Winston and the Saints kind of went rogue on their coach there. So like Dennis Allen really didn't know like what he was like. Yeah, I didn't tell him to do that. But at the same time, it's like, bro, like you guys were getting blown out at that point, like you're really mad about one more touchdown. Like maybe you should be mad at your team for not being able to stop them because you're an awful play caller and trusted in Desmond Ridder to be your guy, So it is what it is. The Saints, the crazy thing is the Saints actually looked really good in this game. And it's just crazy because like you waited until the end of the season to look like this. This is how you guys should have looked the whole time.
Yep. I agree. I agree there. Looking, obviously, Bengals, Browns didn't matter. The Bengals won. The Browns rested their starters in that one. The Lions playing their starters and beating the Vikings 30-20.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a slim chance they get the number 2 seed, but they're in the number 3 seed with a home game. But still, I mean,
it came at a cost. It came at a cost to try to win this game.
I mean, you got Laporta hurt.
Mm-hmm.
He's iffy.
It doesn't seem like it's serious, but it could keep him out this week.
Yeah. So that it came at a cost, obviously, but if I was the Lions, if I was Dan Campbell, I would have just rested people because they're in the playoffs. Just let the chips fall as they may.
I agree. Yeah, it was. And
it was a slim margin for them to move up.
Yeah, I mean they would have needed Dallas to have lost, and I think that's it. I think that's all they needed was just Dallas to lose. And because obviously Philly was going to lose too. And And even I think if Philly had won, they would have been the 2 seed, but I don't quote me on that. All I know is that they had the opportunity and they played for it, but all in all, it was for nothing. And then you got your star tight end hurt. So it was just honestly not worth it. You guys were always likely to be the 3 seed. So they should have just taken it. Win or lose, you guys were locked in at the 3. So, I mean, it just was not really worth it at all.
Moving on, the Steelers needed Tennessee to beat the Jaguars to make it in the playoffs.
Oh my God.
They did just
Is this not the most poetic thing that you've ever seen, Kirby? In terms of, it was the Jacksonville Jaguars that were the reason why the Carson Wentz led Indianapolis Colts did not make the playoffs. And now they needed that. They were in that same scenario. Win and you're in. You win the division. Lose and you're completely out. And it happened to them. They got their butts kicked by the Tennessee Titans. And ultimately ended up being Mike Vrabel's last game. It's poetic. It's poetic.
It was crazy, but the Jaguars made some moves over there on the defensive side.
Fired their whole entire defense. I just want to touch on the fact that, listen, Trevor Lawrence was injured, and you could tell by the way he was throwing the ball. He was not accurate at all, and he was really struggling. I don't understand why I understand why you give him the chance, right? Because you're like, he's the star quarterback. We have to let him go. But they should have had their backup quarterback ready to go in case he just didn't look like he had it. And Trevor Lawrence didn't look like he had it. He had the one great play to Ridley, and that was it. Now, granted, of course, they're dealing with some injuries themselves, the Jags, but the Jags were 10-3 at one point, right? No, they were 9-3. I'm sorry, at one point, and they were at a 96% chance of making the playoffs,
and they did not.
And they botched it. They botched it. And yet last year, they were at a 3% chance to make the playoffs, and they went and racked up win after win after win after win to get in, and damn near could have beaten the Chiefs. Especially after Patrick Mahomes, injured his ankle and got the high ankle sprain. And this was supposed to be a big year for them, and it just did not happen. And now I don't know. I don't think Doug Peterson's on the hot seat, obviously. But you got to ask some questions here as to like what happened. How did this go wrong? This was supposed to be a big year for Jacksonville to make the next step, and it seems like they kind of regressed here at the end at the second half of the season.
Yeah, questions to be asked this offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they move on from this ending to the season and try to rebound. But we'll just have to wait and see there. Other matchups, obviously, the Bucs needed 9 points to win the division, and they did.
So it's as I said in our group chat, it's so indicative of the NFC South that the winner wins by 3 field goals. The team that ends up taking the division, and then there's the other game that's like it's just like a high scoring affair, and this other team is just scoring at will, and it's like, man, this is incredible. But good on Tampa Bay, 3 years in a row. They've won the NFC South.
This game didn't matter, but the Jets and the Patriots in the snow with the Jets beating the Patriots.
We can just skip this.
Packers win and you're in. Get the job done, 17-9 over the Bears, and they traveled to Cowboys Stadium.
AT&T Stadium.
AT&T, yes.
I mean, it's the Chicago Bears. They've obviously looked better here in the second half. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with Justin Fields this offseason. I think they might move on from him just because, he's going to be due for a contract here soon. And by them taking a rookie QB, they afford themselves more time to build the team that they want. And as for the Packers, everybody was giving up on Jordan Love like in the first quarter of the season. And I'm like, guys, like, it's not like Aaron Rodgers, was great, his first year as starter. They went 6-11 his first year. Or I'm sorry, it was 6-10 back then. My bad. And Jordan Love did something that nobody really expected the Packers to do, and that's get in the playoffs. I mean, I didn't have them getting in the playoffs, and it wasn't until last week that I realized, I was like, oh my God, they're in a win and in situation. Like, if they beat the Bears, which they still have ownership of the Bears, they're getting in, and they're likely going to play us. So it's good on Matt LaFleur and that staff to really get that team together. Obviously it's the youngest team in the NFL. They have a bunch of young guys, and Jordan Love has been playing very well lately. Not at a level that like really terrifies me, but he's been pretty solid. And it'll be a fun matchup between us and them. Obviously, a lot of history.
Absolutely.
But the boogeyman's not walking through the door this time with Aaron Rodgers, so I'm not necessarily that afraid. And Dallas should realistically beat this team. They should not have issues beating this team. And if we can't beat this team, then we are the biggest frauds out there. Because again, there's no reason we should not move on.
Absolutely, I agree. Other games, this one really didn't matter. The Chiefs edging the Chargers 13-12.
No comments.
The Raiders defeating the Broncos 27-14. That field pregame with the Super Bowl coming up, that's an issue.
They don't forget they use a totally different field. They don't use that field. They grow the field that they're going to use. They grow it a year in advance. Now, obviously, last year Arizona's was terrible, but
I did not know that.
Yeah, they bring their own field. They don't use that same field there.
All right. Fair point there. But Antonio Pierce, a lot of Raiders players are giving their vote for Antonio Pierce to be the next head coach. Do you agree with that?
With Antonio Pierce being the next head coach for the Raiders?
I think he brings a lot of passion, fuel, and energy.
I think the question is for Mark Davis is, do you do the same thing that you did when you had Rich Bisaccia as your head coach, as your interim head coach, where it was clear the players all loved him. They responded well to him. They won a playoff game or they got to the playoffs with him. They didn't win the playoff game. They lost. But they made the playoffs, and the team was thoroughly behind him. And then you decide to go get the sexy, head coaching hire of getting Josh McDaniels to come in, and it completely flounders. Now you're in that same situation where it seems like you got a guy that's got the backing of the team. It seems like he understands the culture, the history, and brings the right vibe to the team of this toughness Raider football kind of way. But then you got this little thing over here called Jim Harbaugh, at Michigan, finally bringing the title home to his alma mater and possibly wanting to make an NFL comeback return, which obviously we all know Jim Harbaugh was a pretty good head coach when he coached the 49ers. But do you really want to do that to the team again? It'll be interesting to see. Me personally, I'd probably just stick with Antonio Pierce just because, he did a great job of, really righting the ship, when it seemed like it was all going downhill. And I don't know if, the other thing is this team does not have a franchise quarterback, and they're not necessarily in a good position to get one. So it'd be kind of hard for Jim Harbaugh to come in and, really have a vision for this team to take, and take it somewhere when there's no guy there. Like, are they really going to stick with Aiden O'Connell? I don't think so. Obviously Garoppolo is probably going to get cut because that did not work out. And I think Hoyer's the other guy on that roster. It just there's no real big free agent that's going to be available that's going to want to come to Vegas, So I think you stick with Pierce and you see what he can do.
Moving on, this was just comical. The 49ers have the 1 seed. They rested everybody, and the Rams were in the playoffs. Carson Wentz with
looked
163
good.
yards
He
and
looked
2
good.
touchdowns.
He looked good in terms of they used him more like, more like Josh Allen and used his big body. And he made a couple good runs and made the best of his opportunity there. I mean, he did basically what Baker Mayfield did in LA last year and put on some good film. And, look, I mean, you can't sit here and tell me Carson Wentz is, I mean, we knock Carson Wentz a lot. But you can't tell me he's not better than, Aiden O'Connell or, a bunch of other these backups that were, playing in the league. You can't tell me that Minnesota couldn't have used Carson Wentz, to try and make a push at the end. So yeah, good for him, and good for that win was huge for the Rams because obviously it sends them to Detroit, which I could really see them upsetting Detroit. But I don't know.
It's a home playoff game for Detroit. Some of the
Yeah,
most
but it's
expensive tickets
Stafford.
in the playoffs.
It's Stafford though.
And
Stafford coming
Stafford's
back
return
home.
home. It's just classic Sunday night material right there.
Well, it's going to be the first game on Sunday, so no, it's not. Is it?
No,
No, the first
it's
game
Sunday night.
Yeah, it's Sunday night. You're right.
Yeah.
The first game on Sunday is the Bills Steelers.
Yeah.
And then it's Cowboys, Packers, and then
Yeah. Rewinding to Saturday, obviously the Steelers beat the Ravens. Ravens resting their starters, but a win in your end. The Texans defeating the Colts 23-19. What a game that was.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I expected I had the Texans winning, so it didn't surprise me. But man, CJ Stroud,
the Colts, and they bit me in the rear end.
Yeah, well, a lot of teams bit you in the rear end.
Yep.
But yeah, the Colts, man, it breaks my heart for that kid that dropped the 4th and 1 pass at the end there. But at the same time, the Colts shouldn't have been in that situation. They should have. You got to make the plays there. And, CJ Stroud, man, and D'Amico Ryans, what a great job to go from the 2nd overall pick last year to now you're division champs and you're going to host the playoff game. Incredible turnaround. Obviously, the Texans should not get ahead of themselves and do what the Giants did and think that they're way ahead of their rebuild than what they are. But I think that they're definitely in great hands, especially with this great young rookie quarterback. Who was having his character assassinated throughout the whole draft process, which made no sense to me because you just have to put on the film. The guy in the biggest moments always showed up. He was literally like a couple seconds away from beating Georgia last year in the college football semifinal. Like it's insane to me that people were really trying to knock CJ Stroud. And I get it. Bryce Young is a Heisman winner. He played at Alabama and he has good tape and there's a lot of upside on Bryce Young, but you got to think the Panthers are kicking themselves for not taking CJ Stroud instead.
Yeah, but it was a really exciting game. CJ Stroud looks really good and the Texans really deserve this. And hopefully they can make some noise, but I'm not sure. It's going to be really tough.
It will be. Just because, you got Cleveland coming in who's red hot with Joe Flacco. They're rested. And they played earlier this season and the Browns beat them. So we'll see.
Moving on, this game didn't matter really, but the Seahawks beating the Cardinals 21-20.
Yeah, who cares? They didn't make the playoffs.
Cry, Eagles, cry!
Yes!
Cry, Eagles,
Yes!
cry! Cry, Eagles, cry!
Yes,
What an upset!
I love this for them. I love this for Philadelphia. You have okay. Look, in a way, I do obviously feel bad for them just because I bet I guarantee for the Philly fans this is not fun. I mean, they are so beat down right now, and it's incredible because it wasn't just a few weeks ago they were all up and high and mighty after they beat Dallas in the first game. But here they are. They completely fumbled the bag and lost the division. They were so close to being the first back-to-back division winners in the NFC East. Obviously, they were the last team to do it, but they dropped the bag. And yeah, man, cry Eagles, cry, man. This could not happen to a better, to a better man than Nick Sirianni. This makes me so happy that this is all imploding.
This
He
means
talked-
he's just shaking his
He
head.
can talk all this. He talked all that, all that mess. He talked all that mess. Yelling at the Chiefs fans. I can't hear you. You got nothing to say now after he beat us. But hey, guess what? You won a regular season game. Congratulations. We won the game of importance. We beat you guys in the Super Bowl. Congratulations. You're talking smack, but guess what? We still have the trophy in the ring over your, sorry ass. So, he talks all this mess. He's just a cringe coach. I don't like Nick Sirianni. I think I just don't like him. And I'm so happy that this fell apart for him. Obviously, I'm not happy about the injuries. I'm not happy about Jalen Hurts, hurting his finger.
Mangled middle finger.
Yeah, I don't wish any, physical. Like I don't like that. Obviously, like I'm not going to wish injuries upon them. And obviously, the AJ Brown injury was scary. It looks like they avoided anything major. But obviously, that means he's going to be banged up, and he's not going to be 100% going into Tampa. And of course, they are also still missing Devontae Smith. We'll see if he's ready to go for Tampa. But yeah, look, I mean, this was one of the most epic collapses you've ever seen because they were 10-1 at one point. They lose to the 49ers. They're 10-2. They lose to Dallas. They're 10-3. They turn around and I think they beat they already played your team twice. Who did they play after they played Dallas? No, then they just had New York, right? No, then they lost to Seattle.
Yep.
To Drew Lock in Seattle. Yeah.
Thursday night.
And they lost to Seattle. And then was that Thursday night or was that Monday night?
No, that was Monday night.
Yeah, that was a Monday night game.
I was thinking Dallas, Seattle. That was Thursday.
Yeah, that was a Thursday night game. So yeah, they lost to Seattle. Then they barely beat the Giants on Christmas. And then you go out and lose to the Cardinals, which I predicted was going to happen. I had like every time I did simulations and stuff, I always thought, I was like, the Jonathan Gannon's going to want to prove a point and he's going to beat them. And after they gave the Dallas Cowboys a lot of flack for losing to the Cardinals, it was great to see them lose. And then to go out and lose to Tyrod Taylor with a bad thumb, and just that game was over after the first quarter. Like they had no shot in that game. It was
so funny. So funny.
It made me so happy because then it also gave Dallas breathing room. Of course, I wanted obviously to win against the win would be much better against the Commanders, but at least it would be a case of, okay, well, if we lose, because obviously the game was being weird, I was like, well, at least we'll still win the division, but it'll be kind of on a sour note. But so I'd much rather have the win. And then Dallas completely put it on you guys. But yeah, you know what? I mean, this just makes me, I mean, it just shows like, hey, like when you have the opportunity in front of you, like Philadelphia had last year and let's call it what it was, the incredible historic season that they had last year, you have to take advantage of it because it's not guaranteed. Philly fans were, I think, for the most of the season, were thinking that like, okay, this team isn't the same as last year's, but they're still winning. And that's all that matters is they're winning. And obviously they were 10-1, but to then only win one more game after that is just insane.
Honestly, I hope the Eagles bite me in the rear in this game and Tampa just finds a way to pull it off. That would be amazing.
This game was so hard to pick because I want to pick Tampa Bay so bad, but I can't trust Baker Mayfield. So obviously we'll talk about the pick'ems in a little bit, but yeah, cry Eagles cry. Thank you, New York. We're going to be sending you some Philly cheesesteaks here soon.
And I believe last but not least, the Bills over the Dolphins 21-14, a game that decided the division. The Bills came up in the end and got it done.
Champs, they survived, man. We were literally thinking they weren't going to make it, and they made it. They somehow made it. Now, granted, it's not like they've looked very impressive the last couple weeks, but they've gotten the job done, and that's all that matters. They got into the playoffs. Somehow they're the number 2 seed. Makes no sense to me why they're number 2. It just shows how I think the level of play in the AFC has dropped a little bit. I'm not saying that the AFC sucks or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, comparatively with all the injuries that have happened to quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert and such, it just hasn't been great on that side. Kansas City not looking like Kansas City. At least we have Baltimore, but and for Miami, it's now, like, it's just not looking good. The fact that they beat us still upsets me, because I'm like, man, like, we had that game won and we could not stop them enough to hold them back from kicking that game-winning field goal. But yeah, to lose to the Bills at home in a must-win-it game, and Tua throwing the game-losing interception, like, when you could not afford that. I mean, this is just indicative of the how their season has gone. They seem to really struggle to beat the good teams, and then now they have to go on the road to Kansas City. The football gods were not going to let Tyreek Hill get away with playing Kansas City in a regular season game in Germany and not come back to Arrowhead. Now he's got to come back to Arrowhead, and they got to play at like 19-degree weather. Like,
yeah, that weather looks brutal up there about now.
It's going to be bad out there. So, and Tua does not play well in very cold weather. So, we'll see what happens, man. But, this was worst case scenario for the Dolphins. They had it all in front of them. They literally just had to win. They had to just win. Who did they play last week? The Dolphins. Because they played us, but who did they play after us?
Let's take a look while I pull that
did
up.
They lose last week?
I believe they...
God, who did they
play?
The
Ravens. They got killed by the Ravens.
That's right. Yeah, they got waxed by the Ravens.
I knew that, and it just drew a blank.
Yeah, it drew a blank on me. I was like, who did they play after Dallas? Yeah, you get completely demolished by the Ravens. You come back, and Josh Allen is trying to give you the game. Like, he tried his best, and nothing. And I don't know why they stopped running the ball. They were running the ball so well, and they just lost. And it is what it is. And now Buffalo miraculously won the division, despite the fact that everybody was writing them off. And we'll see what happens.
So that wraps up a very, very great regular season. And boy, did this regular season fly by.
It did. It really did.
There's a lot more to come. The Kirby on Sports Pick'em, and a look at Super Wildcard Weekend. When we return.
Wildcard Weekend.
Super Wildcard Weekend. We'll be right back.
Bedbugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bedbug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bedbugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
Hi, this is Mark Peter Lynch with Guild Mortgage. One of the greatest joys in doing business over the last 30 years in the Shenandoah Valley is helping people buy their first home. Buying their first home and putting the keys in their hand at the closing table has brought me so much joy. If you want to buy your first home, a second home, or an investment property, or build wealth through investment in real estate, give me a call. My phone number is 540-664-4700, or you can find me on the World Wide Web at www.marksmortgage.com.
It is that time.
So
The
hold
Kirby
on.
on Sports podcast.
Hold on, before we start this, just a quick correction. It's not going to be 19 degrees in Kansas City. It's going to be 1 degree in Kansas City.
That's even
It's
worse.
going to be cold.
It's gonna-
So for all you
bad.
Chiefs fans that are going to this game, bundle up and please stay warm and safe because it's not going to be nice out there.
what would have been better, Carlos? Us going to the Ravens-Rams game or the Ravens-Steelers game in that rain?
The Ravens-Rams game was much better because
Yeah.
at least for a good 75% of the game, it wasn't raining.
But that game, it was pouring down rain.
It was
thinking about that.
pouring down rain.
I was like, man, I'm so glad we didn't go to that
Well,
game.
it was pouring down rain over there, and then it's snowing buckets over here. We're only 2 hours away from each other.
Yeah,
in
but
terms of
the
us to
city,
Baltimore.
the city gets more rain, and out here we get more snow.
Obviously, 'cause we're out in the mountains, but
But with that being said, it is time for the Kirby on Sports PickEm for Super Wild Card Weekend.
well. Here we are, the playoffs. Our regular season pick'ems is done. We now begin the playoff pick'ems. Our records don't reset. We keep the records as is. Going into the playoffs. Obviously, this is the first year we did the whole regular season. So good job by us for going through the whole regular season, but terrible job by you, Kirby. We'll get into it. Standings currently are Dan, the Weapon Dembski, who is not with us, who can't gloat on his, basically becoming the regular season champion. Sits at 72-36. He went 5-1 for the week, if I remember correctly. I am in second place. I'm only 1 game behind Dan at 71-37. I went a perfect 6-0 for the week. Good job by me. Pats on the back. Let's go. And then our resident stooge, who has been, we're just calling this the Kirby zone. At this point, you're pretty much mathematically eliminated, especially with the way the pick'ems has worked out. You're not going to be able to catch up. You are currently 11 games behind me. Kirby is sitting in last place at 60-48. Like I said, 11 games behind me, 12 games behind Dan, with only 6 games this week, 10, 11, 13 games to go. And he went out in epic proportions of going 1-5 for the last week of the season. So Kirby's pretty much just picking for pride at this point. There's really no shot of him making a comeback, especially because a lot of our picks are the same this week. So that's 6 games gone out of the list, and that'll be about 5 of those games are going to pretty much, they're going either the same way for everybody. So I'm sorry, Kirby, for the 3rd year in a row you're in last place. You got anything to say for yourself?
I don't know what's come about. I will try to pick better next year.
Why did it take you 3 years to make that decision?
I don't know. I'm just not good at pick'ems, I guess.
I really don't know where you went wrong. You had 2 very bad weeks that have really costed you.
Yeah.
So we already established what your punishment is for losing for a 3rd year in a row. You still owe us 40 pancakes. And now you have to wear a loser sign throughout the whole draft show.
Mhm.
So you'll enjoy that. It's okay. It's not like you're the only one who has a punishment to serve. I have a punishment to serve as well. So yeah, we're going to have a great time at the draft show.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun.
It'll be a blast. It's always a blast every year. So with that being said, obviously with it being the wild card weekend, our 6 games are already pretty much chosen for us. We'll be picking every single playoff game, which is obviously Cowboys, Packers, Texans, Browns, Lions, Rams, Buccaneers, Eagles, Chiefs, Dolphins, Bills, Steelers. I will obviously present my picks, and I'll also present Dan's picks since Dan was not able to join us. Miss you, Dan. Can't wait for you to come back on the show. So obviously, I'm going to take the Cowboys over the Packers. They are, of course, I'm contractually obligated to take them, but obviously, I'm gonna pick them anyways. I just don't think the Packers are the Packers of old. So I will take the Cowboys. I am the only person taking the Browns over the Texans. I just think Joe Flacco, obviously having playoff experience is going to be huge. This Texans team is very young and new to this experience. And I think that the Browns, just have a much better defense and will be able to pretty much do their best to stop CJ Stroud. So I'm going to go with the Browns. I'm taking the Lions over the Rams, although this is in my upset zone. I definitely could see the Rams beating the Lions, but I think the safer pick is the Lions just because they are at home. It is their first playoff game ever at Ford Field, which is crazy because Ford Field opened in 2003. Yeah, I just think that the Lions will be motivated to come out and try to get back to Dallas to try to avenge, their loss to us, but we won't let that happen. Then there's the Bucks Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles. I don't understand why I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They really don't deserve it, but the Eagles, all they really need to do is just get it together for a little bit, and they can definitely beat the Buccaneers. But if Baker has one of his games, man, he could put the Eagles out of their misery. I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Dolphins. Obviously, I'm also contractually obligated to take the Chiefs. But the Dolphins don't scare me. And with that defense, that Kansas City defense, they did such a great job of stuffing them earlier in the season in Germany. I think it happens again also with the cold weather. I mean, they're not built for that kind of weather. They're just not. So I have Kansas City beating Miami. And then, of course, I'll take Buffalo over Pittsburgh because, Buffalo is just it's at home. Pittsburgh is probably rolling out Mason Rudolph again. I mean, I don't see Pittsburgh going into Buffalo beating them at all. And especially now that they don't have TJ Watt also, who's been ruled out of the game. It looks like it'll be I won't say it's easy, it'll be easy, but I think the Bills will be comfortable winning. So Dan's picks, Dan is going to take the Cowboys. He's going to take the Texans. He's going to take the Lions. He's going to take the Eagles. He's going to take the Chiefs, and he's going to take the Bills. Dan did have some, he did have some issues picking Chiefs Dolphins. He wasn't 100% sure, but then he eventually went with the Chiefs because he feels like he couldn't trust the Dolphins. So with all that being said, I will now kick it over to the CEO and the founder of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Josh Kirby. Take it away.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm picking the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, the history that is behind this matchup, but you don't have Aaron Rodgers. This is a different Packers team. It's going to be really good to give Jordan Love a taste of the playoffs, and it's going to be good experience, but I think Dallas comes out on the upper hand. I forgot to mention, you really want a Browns-Ravens matchup, don't you, Carlos?
I want to win the pick'ems, so this isn't about future matchups, okay?
So you don't want to see Joe Flacco go back to Baltimore?
I don't give a damn what happens on that side of the bracket. I have my team to worry about. So unless the Chiefs and the Cowboys are both out, then the Ravens will be my main focus. But until then, whatever happens on that side of the bracket that doesn't involve the Kansas City Chiefs matters nothing to me.
I'm picking the Texans. I think it's going to be a battle, but CJ Stroud, I think CJ and D'Amico Ryans win their first playoff game for the Texans will be huge for the fan base. This one's going to be close. Matthew Stafford making his return to Detroit. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. The Lions' first ever home playoff game. I think the Lions get it done. The Lions are a tough team, and I think they get it done. This one was hard. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs are the champs. They have home field advantage, but for this game. But I mean, looking with the Eagles' injuries, I don't think that's enough for the Buccaneers. I think the Eagles win this game, but I would laugh out loud if the Buccaneers beat them.
Agreed.
Chiefs over the Dolphins. I think the Chiefs with rest can get the job done. The Dolphins, I'm not sure if they have what it takes, but this one might be exciting as well. And the Buffalo Bills, I am taking them over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bills are on a little bit of a hot streak, so it's going to be very interesting to see how that matchup goes. But again, very exciting matchups with our wild card pick'ems.
So really quick before we go on, obviously the NFL script writers really put in the work for this playoffs. You obviously have the historic and storied rivalry between the Cowboys and Packers in the playoffs. You have Texans versus Browns in the who won the Deshaun Watson trade, in which Deshaun Watson is not playing for the Cleveland Browns and is being led by Joe Flacco. You have Matthew Stafford returning to Detroit for their first home playoff game. You have, Tampa Bay, Philly. There's not really much of a story there. Tyreek Hill's return to Arrowhead, and same Buffalo, Pittsburgh. There's not necessarily a story there, but 4 out of the 6 games have a great storyline going into it. And it's just, this is going to be, I feel like these playoffs are going to be so much fun. And I can't wait for Saturday and Sunday. But first off, okay, why do we have a Peacock exclusive game? What are we doing here? That should not be this is the playoffs. There should be no exclusive games here. This should be available to anybody. So now everybody has to get Peacock to watch Chiefs Dolphins. That's dumb to me. But
Are
luckily
you
I have
getting
Peacock. I already have
do.
Peacock, so
Okay.
I watch WWE, so I have to have Peacock. What's it called? And then we got to get rid of this Monday night game. It makes, I don't know why we're doing a playoff game on Monday night. It puts that team at a rest disadvantage, like the Cowboys last year. There was a possibility that they might have had to have gone to Philly, and Philly was going to be coming off of a week of rest, and we would be playing on a Monday night, getting one day less, rest than any other team. The Monday night game is dumb. It's a competitive disadvantage, and they just need to put it on Saturday. I don't know what we're doing here. So, I'm excited for these playoffs.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Exciting for sure. I'm hoping the playoffs are very exciting with some very exciting games to touch on come next week. So with that, apologies, Dan could not be here with us. We miss you, Dan. Hopefully we will see you next week. But the Swiss Army knife joining me, Josh Kirby, right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast, which you can find on all streaming platforms, all social media platforms, and KirbyOnSports.com. Huge thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, which will be changing really soon. Stay tuned for that. Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, and the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, along with Shenandoah Music. I forgot to add them as well. Shenandoah Music right across from Buffalo Wild Wings in Winchester. Check them out today. They have some great deals going on for the new year. And for the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy, use promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order every single time. Carlos, a lot of fun. Looking forward to rolling through the playoffs with you, my friend, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun unless Dallas gets bounced in the first round. Then I'm going to be raising hell.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We might hear a very lengthy paragraph if that is the case. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 199 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Next week, wrapping up Super Wildcard Weekend and giving you a preview of the divisional round. Until next time, we say so long, everybody, and take care. Thank you very much once again. Peace out.